next speaker is committed to reducing food waste, helping undeserved populations, and providing solutions for other manufacturers and their sustainability practices. So Gary and I had a little bit of a chance to speak. I'm so happy, Gary Schuler, you're here. If you'll come up and tell us a little bit about what's going on, I'd appreciate it. Oh, he's got props.
Thank you. Well, first off, Kevin, I just so much appreciate your passion, because that's what's needed in innovation, and when you're starting off, it takes tremendous courage, but you've got to be passionate, and I'm sure your team, so I appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gary Schuler. I'm the president and founder of GTF Technologies, located in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I want to thank the Michigan Manufacturing Association for selecting GTF Technologies as a finalist in the Innovation Excellence Award. I also want to thank Carol Distel from West Michigan Works for nominating GTF Technologies for this award, and we just appreciate you, Carol, and all the work you're doing. I'd like to take a few moments to tell you a little bit about what GTF Technologies does, but more importantly, the why. So what we do is we design and manufacture a very unique food drying technology. We can take a fruit, vegetable, other plant material and turn it into a powder in less than 1 second without the use of heat. So why that's important is your traditional food drying technologies you've heard of, like spray drying or drum drying or some, let's say freeze drying. It can take up to 25 hours, 30 hours to dry, and we're doing that in less than a second. And the way that we're doing that, we retain more of the nutrients out of the material, better color, and at a much, much lower cost in a much more environmentally friendly way. So that's all great, but unless you can help companies make money or save money, your technology, nobody really cares. So you really have to focus in on what those companies' problems are. And in the food industry, for like the juicing companies, brewing industry, or food production, do you realize that 30 to 60% of the raw material is wasted? So you think about the orange juice you drank this morning. What happened to the peels? Cranberry juice, what happened to the pulp? So what we're seeing is that there's a huge problem with some of the companies. They're looking at not as their waste, but it's really an asset. And what is also one of the concerns is in the farming industry. So up to 60% of what is produced in the field, whether it's misfit fruit or vegetables, doesn't go to the retailer, it gets wasted. I think worldwide about a third of all the fruits and vegetables grown is wasted. So the problem that companies have is that, what am I going to do with all this waste? Bringing it home to Michigan, would you realize that almost 40% of last year's apple crop went to waste? And the reason being is we had a great harvest. There was an oversupply of apples. And the reality is apples rot, right? We've all experienced that when you clean out your refrigerator. If there's a way, imagine if we can stop the rot. In other words, if we can actually turn that into a powder, that is an opportunity for a company to then create a new revenue stream. So an apple powder, there's actually a market for apple powder. A lot of that is being brought in from overseas. You all may have had an apple pie from a certain fast food restaurant. What's not in that apple pie is apple flour. And yet that is an asset that's waiting for maybe some of these companies. What if these side streams can be then recirculated as also bioplastic or disaster relief? So at GTF Technologies, we're working with some of the larger food producers and processors in the world to create new products from their bioproducts. Since Michigan is known for beer processing, let's use beer as an example. Let me ask you a question. For every 6-pack of beer, do you know how much waste is produced? About a pound of waste. So there's over 10,000 brewing operations around the world. In Grand Rapids alone, or West Michigan, I think the number's between about 20 and 30. Just one of the larger brewing operations over there creates about 1 million pounds of waste a week. Now, this is actually some of that flour. It has 31% protein, 4 more times fiber than wheat flour. It's a keto diet dream. And yet, what we're seeing is that if we can turn that into a new food product. So there's some cookies over by the coffee station that were made by Arnie's Bakery over in West Michigan. And you can imagine is that we're also, for every 1,000,000 pounds of waste, which is every week, we can make about 200,000 pounds of this flour, enough to make 600 loaves of bread. I think there's a lot of need out there in the world, which I'll talk about in just a second. But also, what we're excited about is the way that we are drying. We can actually, because we're not using heat as a source to dry, we can take it to less than 2% moisture. And why that's important is that we're now working with collaboration with other companies. This is actually a fully biodegradable, single-use plastic made with 50% of brewer's grade flour that you see up here. This is from last week. This is actually a film. Imagine that your trash bags, that whether it be at the grocery store or in your kitchen, this was made with 50% of the brewer's grain material. Same way with the stretch wrap that goes around your pallets. We're also working with Western Michigan University, actually made a paper. So the 12-pack that you get could actually be made with some of the byproduct that was waste that has a direct environmental impact. So for every 1,000,000 pounds that we can maybe convert into a new food upcycled ingredient, that's 80,000 tons of carbon avoided. That's one location, just in West Michigan. My last why here, before I close, is the other sobering fact, is according to the UN, 850 million people on the verge of starvation. 20,000 people, according to the UN, starve every day. It's enough to fill Michigan's football stadium about every 5 days. And yet, we can feed them all today, just on the waste from the brewing industry. I'm not talking about all the food programs or other food waste out there. So in closing, our goal is we are collaborating, manufacturing here in Michigan to deploy these systems around the world. And our hope is to help solve a business problem for these food manufacturers and brewing operations by helping them make money or save money. Has a direct environmental impact of reducing carbon, as well as our BHAG, as we call it. We think we can help feed 1 billion people in the next 5 years. All with the help and support of the Michigan Manufacturers Association, our collaborative partners here in Michigan, and we're just honored and grateful that we're here today, so thank you very much.
Those are some great innovations, eh?